Hi, today we're going to look at pressure testing a carburetor for a Stihl FS90R Trimmer. I purchased this Stens carburetor pressure gauge off of Amazon for about $80. It's got a button you press, it just pumps pressure into it. It's got a bleeder valve to let pressure out of it. It's numbered. The numbers we're going to be looking at is the number 5 and the number 10, because this you want to get right in between there, because basically you want to pump these carburetors to about 7 psi. First thing you do is you attach your gauge to the fuel line of your carburetor, and then you just pump up pressure by pushing this button on the side until you get to about 7 psi. Now it should hold. If not, your carburetor would be flooding. So next, you're just testing your primer bulb by simply pressing it and then waiting a second to make sure it holds, and then press it again and make sure it holds, and press it again and make sure it holds. As long as that needle doesn't continuously drop, that's what you're testing for. You want to make sure that that needle holds pressure in between every time you press that primer bulb. Next, we'll do test number 3, and you're testing the primer bulb to make sure it holds pressure. So you need to attach it to your primer return line, and then just simply pump the primer. Pump it up to about 7 psi, and it should hold pressure. The needle shouldn't drop. And if it does this, if all 3 of these tests pass, then your carburetor's holding pressure. Chances are it's a good carburetor. Now I'm going to show you an example of 3 different carburetors in which each one of these tests fail on each one of those carburetors. First one, we're going to do test 1 again on a different carburetor, and you'll notice that it fails. It will not hold pressure. So we hook it up to the fuel line, pump up our gauge, pump pressure into the fuel line up to 7 psi. And you notice the needle dropping. That means it's not holding pressure, so that's a fail. Go on. I'll show you an example of failed test 2 where the primer bulb wasn't holding pressure. Basically, I pumped it up, and then I hit the primer bulb, and you notice that the gauge is dropping. That's a fail. So now we'll do an example of a failed test 3. You hook up to your primer return line, pump up the pressure using the primer bulb, and it should hold pressure. But as you can see, as I'm pumping it, there's a leak in there and the needle is dropping, so that's a fail on test 3. And that's basically how you test your carburetor. Hope it helps. Thanks for watching.